Dies ire, dies illa, solvet seclum in favilla. Teste David cum Sibylla.
Well, today I want to talk about vampirism. In Haitian culture, we don't have a Dracula-like figure when we talk of vampirism. Vampirism is in the category of what some would say a loup-garou is. Now, a loup-garou, we can say that is associated with quote-unquote blood sucking. But if you go into the French understanding of the word loup-garou, it's actually loup-garou whatsoever, which has a totally different interpretation from what the Haitians refer to as a loup-garou. Loup-garou in Haitian culture comes from the French understanding of a werewolf, but with other things associated with it. You know, vampirism is the main one because sometimes when children go sick in Haiti, they blame it due to vampirism. A loup-garou has flew over the house and basically was drained the child of energy. This is why the child died whatsoever in his sleep. Now in different cultures, some have even associated Lilith with such activity. So what is it? Is it Lilith? Is it a loup-garou? What is it? Let's forget about terminologies altogether. There is many sources for vampirism. The most common source of vampirism is the dead. When we speak of zombie, now, when you go into your research, you'll see that Romania, when they refer to Ophir or the vampire in their culture, they make reference to the dead. And this aspect of vampirism is something that's been buried deep in history. Transylvania, Vlad the Impaler, this is where Hollywood has borrowed a lot from. Hollywood borrowed a lot of things which created this mythological creature in the movies called Dracula. I believe the Dracula comes from the Dracul, the dragon, the tribe of the dragon or so that Vlad the Impaler was part of, but that's a whole other story. But the reality behind vampirism was that just like in various cultures where you have people that tend to try to protect their children or protect people from the dead. See, the thing is, when a lot of people go to cemeteries, you have to understand that you have to be careful in cemeteries with what spirit you deal with or what spirit you try to interact with. Because some spirits can be vampires in nature. Because in reality, when you start seeing the dead, especially those who died in horrific ways, died of illness, when you start working with those people and you don't do the ritual right, you find that those illnesses which was associated with that deceased individual fall onto you. When it comes down to burying the dead, there's people in Haiti that specialize in prepping the body of the dead. They may not be as well versed as the ancient Egyptians with, with mummification, but we have a process when someone dies of bathing the body of the deceased. There is a ritualistic procedure that has to be done with the body, and especially if you were a voodooisant. When these rituals are not done correctly or not done at all, and the body is buried where it's not supposed to be buried, this can create situations where the dead come back to haunt the living. And when the dead come back to haunt the living at times, they can bring all manner of diseases and death and violence. Many times people in Haitian culture, they refer to certain people as loup-garou. Oh, he's a loup-garou. He caused that. He caused this. Now, the reality is you have to understand that the masses of Haitian people, even voodooism themselves, they are very ignorant to a lot of, how can I say, a lot of sorcery. They're wicked. They're ignorant to a lot of sorcery, how it's actually done. You find even those that are initiates in voodoo, and they talk a lot of fuckery that they don't know nothing of. Some will even say, oh, well, a loup-garou is someone who just got a point from someone, and now this person, has the ability to fly, and this person has the ability to teleport into another, into another place on the earth. A bunch of utter nonsense, utter fuckery. The reality is, when a Bokor, which is a necromancer, this individual utilizes what we call the zombie. And if that Bokor wants to send it after someone, that zombie latches onto that human. And when it latches onto the human, what happens is that it begins to drain the life force of the individual. The life force begins to get sucked out of the individual. This is why you begin to see some people begin to look sick, very sick after some times. Sometimes they look like they got cancer. I've seen people that even cover themselves up. It's summertime. Why are you wearing a fucking hat? Why are you wearing a fucking scarf? Why are you wearing a fucking coat? It's fucking summer. See, the body begins to shut itself down. And at times, depending on the severity, I'm not going to use severity, depending on the age, that determines how fast the spirit will drain the individual. When you're older, your vitality is very low, so it's easier for that to have an effect on you. Where per se, if you're young and in your prime, it's going to take more time in order for this thing to break down your body or break down your spirit. See, the thing is, a lot of people don't understand that it's not an instant thing. When that thing begins to sit on someone, when that zombie, when that vampire begins to sit on someone, that thing can sit on a person for a couple of years before they die. Sometimes I've seen people die within a year. I've seen some people die within 3 to 4 years. As long as that job or that spirit sits on the individual, it's going to keep on sucking and sucking and sucking their life force out of their body. And this is why many people, again, they begin to look dried up. They begin to look very skinny. They begin to look very ill. Sometimes, I would just put it like this, that this phenomenon of vampirism is very real. A zombie can be a vampire. But not all zombies are capable of the same thing. But in a lot of situations, a lot of times when people want to utilize the dead for work, they're using it for malicious reasons. And usually when they use it for malicious reasons, you definitely have that vampiristic effect. So, with that said, I conclude this video. Thank you guys for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.